Okay, I've been asked a couple questions about solving this present value question. Okay, there's really three questions. They're asking us, what's the present value on January 1st, 2016 of $30,000 due on January 1st, 2020, discounted at 10% compounded annually. Then we have the same time periods, but the amount goes to $40,000. The discount rate's 11% and it's compounded semi-annually. And then the third part of this same question is the amount goes to $50,000. We're still have the same time period, January 1st, 2016 to January 1st, 2020. Only this time it's discounted at 16% compounded quarterly. All right, now I'm going to illustrate two different ways to solve this one. First, I'll illustrate it using discount factors in a table. So in all of these, they're asking for the present value of a lump sum amount. There's no annuity, meaning there's no payment that occurs at regularly scheduled intervals. That's not happening here. We just simply need to know the present value of some amount that's due in the future. And in all three cases, it's 4 years away, right? 2016, beginning of the year, so we've got all of 16, all of 17, all of 18, and all of 19. 4 years, right? January 1st, essentially 4 years and 1 day away, but we're starting on the first day, so it's 4 years away. So we know in every case, n, the number of periods is 4. So I'm going to solve it with the table factor first. So let's look at the first one. What's the payment? Well, the payment is 0, right? There is no payment. It's just a lump sum amount. What's the interest rate? Well, they give that to us at 10%. So let me slide this down. We'll put some of this information in here. Okay, what's the future value? Well, it's 30,000. That's given to us. The number of periods, 4, or in years, and because the interest rate is on an annual basis, we have the information we need to come up with the present value factor. So we go over to our present value table and we're going to look for where n is equal to 4 and where the interest rate is 10%. I've got to move this over for you to see that. Let me do that now. If I slide this over here, we now see 10%, 4 gets us where it crosses 10%, and n equals 4 is 0.683013. So I put that right there. And then to solve this one, all you have to do, slide back where you can see this now. Okay, all you have to do now to solve this one is what you see I'm doing here. I'll hit the F2 key. I'm multiplying the value in F15 times I15. So I take what that future value lump sum amount would be, and I multiply it times the future value factor. And when I do that, I get $20,490.39. Now, let me show you how Excel can get you the same answer within a difference of a rounding issue. Let me slide on down. All right, so let's start this one from scratch. We would use the equal PV function in Excel. So I would say hit equal PV, hit the left paren, and come up here, call this up. Now you've got the function arguments in front of you. You can just point to where the information is. What's the rate? 10%. Number of periods? 4. What's the payment? There is no payment. We can leave that blank. The future value. Well, the future value is 30,000, but you need to remember that a calculator in Excel treats cash outflows as negative and cash inflows as positive. So if we want this answer to come back as a positive, we have to say, what are we giving up to get that present value? Where we're giving up 30,000 in the future. So I'll enter that as a negative. Now the type just means, does the payment occur at the beginning or the end? And unless they tell you the beginning, the first payment occurs at the beginning, and there's no payment in this case, so it doesn't apply, we leave it alone. When I hit enter, I get $20,490.40. So we are a penny off. Okay? Technically, both are correct. If you're working this in a textbook, they probably are teaching with the table, so go with the table number. Okay, let's go on to the second one. What's the present value $40,000 due in 4 years, discounted 11%, compounded semi-annually. Okay, there's no payment, but the interest rate is not 11%. The interest rate is 11% divided by 2. We need to come up with the interest rate per period. So that's 5.5, and that means instead of 4 years or 4 periods, we've got 8, right? Now, technically, I probably should have entered it this way, equals 4 times 2, right? 4 years, 2 compounding periods, semi-annually means 2 per year. And then from there, we're going to go to the present value table and look for where n is equal to 8, and the rate is equal to 5.5. So if I go 5.58, I get 0.651599 right there above my mouse. So I enter it there, and then I simply, like I did before, I multiply across. Okay? Pretty straightforward. Now, I can solve this one the exact same way, and I think I can just copy right on down and come up with that answer. Yep. So you could go through the formula again. You could click this to see where we're getting the information. The rate's now 5.5%. Number of periods are 8. 40,000 we're going to enter as a negative. And you see in this case, we're off just a penny. And the only reason we're off is Excel isn't doing the rounding exactly the same way as the table. The table's going to, what does it look like? 1, 2, 3, 6 decimal places. My bet is Excel is carrying it out quite a bit further. I don't know that for a fact, but quite frankly, both of those are the correct answer. Who's going to quibble about a penny? Now, if you're using a homework manager tool, the homework manager tool might quibble about the penny. Use the table approach. That's most likely what your textbook wants you to do. All right, and then the last one, let me slide this up a little bit. 4 years, 50,000, 16% compounded quarterly. Okay, so again, there's no payment involved, but now it's 4%. Well, why is it 4%? 16% divided by 4. I need to know what you need to know what the interest rate is per period. So the per period interest rate is 16% divided by 4, and that also means instead of 4 years, we have 4 periods per year, 16. Okay, so now I'm going to look for 4% with 16. I do that, and I get 0.533908 right above my mouse, right here. I put that in, and then again, just multiply across, multiply the future value times the present value factor to come up with what that would mean. Now, rather than repeating this, I'll just copy this over the top, and you see we're within a penny. All right, so let me slide that out of the way. And that really is all there is to this problem. And the purpose of this little brief demonstration was to show you there are a couple ways to come up with that answer. In all of these ways, you wouldn't have to use the formula. In fact, I wouldn't recommend you use the formula here and do it by hand. I think there's a risk of error in coming up with that. I think you have less of a risk when you're using the table approach, and if you use Excel, it's self-documenting itself. So, you can always go back and see what you're using and get some sense. So I like that self-documenting or self-auditing feature of Excel. Okay, everyone, I hope you found this helpful.